Hi, Christina. Hi, everybody. I see Mitzi's coming in now in the waiting room. Hi, Mitzi.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Hi, Jennifer, and hi, John. Loving Julia's picture up there.
Yeah, I've signed into my wife's.
And Christina, are you from one of the Champion Care facilities?
Yeah, Christina is from the Bay at Surrey.
Oh, great. Oh, and did we lose Jennifer? She was on there. Okay, I see someone's waiting to get in. I'm gonna add that person. Okay, and I see Megan is joining us. Okay. So I can actually, it looks like I can rename folks within the meeting. So with the person who joined as the iPhone, I can rename you so that everyone can see who's here. Do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
So we have Christina, Mitzi, and Megan if you didn't hear your name called, that you're probably the iPhone.
And you're
Mitzi,
on mute. You're,
Yeah,
yeah, the person who's on iPhone is on mute. I can go ahead and unmute you. Here, ask to unmute. More. So I hit ask to unmute for the person who's on the iPhone. So sorry we can't hear you, person on iPhone, you're still on mute. I just want to make sure that it is, you know, someone that is invited to the meeting and we know who you are. I'm going to send you a direct message too.
John, who are we missing on this call so far?
yeah, that's a good point. So Christina is representing Suring. I'm assuming Megan is that's Megan at Northridge. So Northridge is represented, and I think that we needed to have somebody from Grand Care on the call as well, and we wanted to have somebody from Oconto on the call. So I don't know if we're missing somebody from Oconto, or if we're missing somebody from Grand Care.
Okay, Oconto is in an annual survey, so they're probably not going to be able to join. I'm going to send a message to Lenny at Grand Care.
Yeah, he
Okay.
did not accept the meeting invite. I had talked to him about it last week, and I just sent it to him again this morning when I discovered that he hadn't responded in talking with Kate about the tracking. So just FYI.
Okay.
And I had saw Jennifer Marks from Forward Service Corporation pop on the call, and then she dropped off all of a sudden. So maybe she's having a little bit of technical difficulties or something getting on the call.
Yeah.
In terms of responses to the meeting invitation, everybody from Champion Care's side of things that was invited did respond yes, except for the Grand Care admin that you had mentioned. So hopefully, you know, folks are just getting rolling here. I see the iPhone is trying to get back in. I'm going to let that person in again. There we go. They're connecting.
Kate, you want to reach out to Jennifer just to make sure?
Sure. And I just want to see if the iPhone is Jennifer. There we go.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Jennifer.
Sorry, I was trying to log into the meeting and then my screen went completely black on my computer. So I'm not sure what's going on with my computer. And then I joined with my phone and I did update my privacy settings so I could hear you. But when you tried to unmute me because it was listed as private, it wouldn't unmute. So I apologize.
Oh, no worries. No worries. I'm just happy to have you join us. And we're just getting our ducks in a row with all of our Champion Care participants. Right now on the line, we have Christina W. Who was she from Suring, John, you mentioned?
Yeah, why don't I just
Christina?
go through who's on, Kate? So we have Christina Wright and presumably some of her associated personnel at the Bay at Suring. The Bay at Oconto is not able to join this morning as a result of the fact that they're in annual survey. I think that generally speaking, we're in a pretty good position with the Bay at Oconto anyway because of their participation in the pilot. So I think we should be okay as far as that's concerned. Jennifer Mitzi Cannon is our Senior Vice President of Clinical Affairs. She's on the call. She's currently in the process of trying to reach out to Grand Care and the administrator there. Megan Dennison is the administrator at the Bay at Northridge, and presumably she has some associated personnel within her facility sharing on the line as well. So, and then we have we have you. So those are the folks that we have on the call. I think that I would leave it to Mitzi to make a call about whether or not we, want to move forward with the group that we have. Maybe give it another minute or so, and then we can kind of move forward, just to be respectful of people's time here. So.
Great. Before we get into any of the real meat of the meeting, I thought maybe we could just go over what the general goals are of the meeting, just so that we know kind of what we want to cover before the end of the time, So the first thing we want to talk about is the resources that Champion Care can expect from Forward Service Corporation as far as supports to new hires, or incumbent workers who are going through WisCaregiver careers training. So that's the first topic. The second topic is how each facility would like to receive referrals from Forward Service Corporation. So as I mentioned, and maybe something that Jennifer can touch on, is that one of the things that makes Forward Service Corporation special when it comes to providing FSET services is that they have this pre-training class for CNAs. I believe it was called something along the lines of like Introduction to Healthcare Careers. And so maybe Jennifer can touch on that class and explain kind of what that's all about and why it helps people be successful. So talk about that, and then also how each of your facilities would like to receive referrals from that program. And then finally, the reverse referral process. So how facilities go about referring their incumbent workers or new hires to the folks at Forward Service Corporation for eligibility screening and then hopefully services. So those are our main goals for today's meeting. Any questions or anything else that we should add to the agenda?
We might want to add communication after the referrals have been made and just the status of the referrals, if they got hired, or just overall feedback from the interview process, because that would be helpful for us to know.
Great. Communication after referral. What happens? Do they get hired?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then like points, potential points of improvement or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do they get hired? Okay, and then
so I just sent messages to Christina and to Megan. We are actually going to need to have participation from folks on the call. So I just Christina wanted to double check. Are you able to unmute your line? And if you are, then please do so, just for a sound check here. If not, please respond to my text because or the chat that I had in the text box, or the chat box, so we can confirm that, because this is an interactive type of format. We need to have to know what the situation of the status is as far as that's concerned. So Christina, are you able to join or unmute? Okay, so Christina says that she's not able to use her microphone on Zoom. So, all right. So, Christina, just if you can, if there's something that we need to get your feedback on, I'll just reply all to the text or the chat box, and then we can get your feedback that way. Hopefully we can figure out the microphone issue moving forward. And Megan, I got your response too. So, yeah, Megan, you just unmuted. Can you hear us? Yep, we can hear you. Great. Okay. I think that I think that we have the people that we're going to have, Kate. So let's
Great.
move forward.
And just to make sure, so Christina is from what facility was it? Surrey?
Stirring.
Surrey. Okay, so Christina's from Surrey, and Megan, you're from the Northridge. Okay. Okay, great. And Oconto's already squared away. So Grand Care is the only one we really need to follow up with.
Yep.
So Christina and Surrey, and then Megan, Northridge. Okay, great. So
I'm sorry. Sorry, I do not have I cannot turn on my computer, but is Grand Care the Fond du Lac location?
Correct.
Okay. Because that we did look at Fond du Lac, and Fond du Lac is one of our hub offices. So I think we would see a lot of success with those referrals and maybe more volume than we will in some of these smaller counties. Because we have done stuff with even MPTC in Fond du Lac and done some customized trainings or referred people on to CNA training in the Fond du Lac area. So I'm glad that we're going to be getting them in the mix at some point.
great. Yeah, we'll definitely.
I'm going to call Lenny's cell phone right now and make sure that he can join if possible. But why don't we move forward with our plan here? Okay.
Great.
John, can you call the
Yes.
facility? He's not responding to his cell phone.
Okay, sounds good. So go ahead, Kate.
Okay, so first item on the list is resources. So take it away, Jennifer.
Okay.
In terms of what we might be able to expect in that regard.
Okay, so Forward Service Corporation works with food share employment and training participants. So a lot of times they are either unemployed or underemployed and just looking for a career change or looking for a different type of position. So we have participants that are interested in several different industries. So we really focus on, those soft skills, resume building, interview prep. And we also, as Katie mentioned, have an introduction to healthcare professionals course because we found that we had several participants who said that they were interested in the healthcare industry, but did not have as much knowledge of what that entailed or what that might look like for them. So it's just a quick 2-week course that just touches on the industry, kind of what they can expect, what they'll need as far as background checks, and we hope and we see that they're much more successful in, that CNA or the industry as a whole after that training because they've gotten that just general knowledge prior to, going further. So we look at, industry videos or just, career paths in the industry in that section. And then once we have identified that we have participants that are interested in this field, we can then refer on to you and then provide support for the first 90 days that they're employed. So that usually includes transportation assistance. We can help with scrubs, any sort of work items that are needed. And then we just provide that behind the scenes support for those 90 days. But there are supportive services that are available prior to employment as well as throughout that first 90 days of employment.
Great. Does anybody have any questions about, maybe a specific item that you're concerned about or any particular resource that you might think might be helpful to your incumbent new hires or your WisCaregivers that you'd like to ask Jennifer about?
Hi, this is Mitzi. I didn't hear anything about childcare. Is that something that you also offer?
So we are not the childcare providers, but we do offer childcare assistance through the county. So we connect them with the Wisconsin Shares program. And then they can get that subsidized childcare. There's sometimes that application fee. So we pay for the application fee through our program. In Fond du Lac, the nice thing is we do have a slotted contract with a childcare provider. So if somebody was in the middle of kind of setting up childcare or we're waiting for a slot, we do have a couple slots available in Fond du Lac for that are held just for our program participants.
Thank you.
Yeah. But we really work with kind of identifying those childcare needs early on before we do those referrals to an employer. I will say from the pilot, one thing that we found that we could do better is screening for that background check. So our staff do know the importance of, discussing backgrounds with participants and making sure that that background check is filled out completely. That was one thing that at Bay Northridge, we sent some referrals over that should have had better completed background checks than were completed. So I think sometimes with that pilot, it was kind of rushed and they were trying to get some of the paperwork completed before the deadline. So I think having kind of an ongoing flow, our staff will be able to do a better job of, making sure that all of the forms are completed in full. So that was one takeaway that we had from the initial pilot.
Just to let everyone know, Jenny from the Bay at Oconto and the Bay at Suring has now joined. Welcome, Jenny. Welcome aboard, Jenny.
Hi.
Good to have you here.
Yes, thank you.
So Jennifer just finished up explaining about the different resources, including transportation, scrubs, and childcare assistance, specifically in Fond du Lac, and addressed the point of improvement from their experience in pilot about the background check. So any questions, Jenny, or insights to share about your experience so far with the pilot and the resources? That's the topic we're kind of talking about right now, is what resources the sites can expect from Forward Service Corporation.
No, I think it's going pretty smooth right now from what I've brought on with I think I have 5 candidates right now with the CNA program and the FSET. So it's gone pretty smooth. I pretty much get my information right away from Chua or you. So I think it's going well. So
Great. That's so exciting. 5 is a good number for Oconto because that's a smaller county.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. They're really thriving too. One I'm a little leery about that we just hired on. I'm not sure how she'll do or if she'll even make the attendance. So, but overall, I mean, the other 4 are doing good and strong. So
great. And I will say, if anybody, is struggling, that we can kind of help, on our end, because sometimes it might be just making sure that they have, the right transportation or the right childcare in place. We are more than willing to kind of help provide case management in those situations, because we do have some like vehicle repair and vehicle purchase loan, and just can kind of have conversations with the participants to kind of reinforce what you guys are saying about attendance and things. So that's where I think that 90 days of support after they're hired on is going to be really helpful.
okay, so you do help with childcare and vehicle support too as well?
Yeah. So we have a WeTap program that helps with vehicles. So that's either a car purchase or car repair. So the case manager would be able to help the employee with navigating that program. And then childcare will get them set up with Wisconsin Shares if they're eligible. And then we can look at, childcare options until they get kind of set up.
Okay.
So it's not like we can always pay like the full amount, but we want to get them, connected with the right resources. Okay.
I did see too where I think it came across an email last week for a possible gas voucher.
Yep.
Is that something too that would go into there for, like, I have a possible CNA. I haven't been able to get a hold of her now since last week. Trying, but she's driving probably 2 hours to get to our Oconto facility when I get her on board.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll help with gas vouchers for the first 90 days of employment. So in that situation, we could help, pay for gas. Now, I don't know if it would cover like her full cost, but it would subsidize that need. And we usually have gas stations that are set up in all of our counties. So we just provide them with vouchers.
Okay. Oh, good.
Yeah.
I can see that, having this information, like, what would your suggestion, Jenny or John or anybody on the call, of how we can make sure to get this information about the resources to the right people on the ground? Like Jenny, you're in contact with the actual WisCaregivers, but is everybody like, do we need to think about ways that we can like disseminate this information across across Champion Care, so that the frontline, like the manager, the person who's kind of interacting with the WisCaregiver who may be experiencing these barriers to employment, can say, if it's the problem with your car, call your FSET person, because they can help with that. Because I think sometimes it's like people don't know the full extent of what's offered.
Right. I'd have to agree with that, because I didn't know about the gas voucher, the vehicle, the child thing as well.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. And then also too, how is advertising for this? Because this is a great asset to Champion Care. How is this advertised through Champion Care that, want to be a CNA? We could help you take the class through, Wisconsin Caregivers. We're partnered up with that, and FSET, that type of thing. Is this being advertised through Champion Care too, that we do offer these?
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that the meeting last week, the follow-up, because of the, technical problems with the webinar, but, and, the communication has been exclusively through the administrators of the facilities, and, getting the administrators of the facilities to respond, I think, is critical. And we're trying to broaden that to a certain extent, but this is very new, Jenny. This was actually, the broadening of the availability of this program to other Champion Care facilities only happened very recently. And so this is the marketing this is the communications effort that we're engaged in right now, to make sure that leadership in the facilities is aware. We got to take advantage of this now while we have the opportunity. And we want to facilitate direct communication with the FSET agency, between facility personnel and the FSET agency. So Christina with Suring, Megan with Northridge, Jenny, you and Mary and other folks at Suring, directly with Jennifer Marks and Forward Service Corporation. And we're doing this with every one of the FSET agencies. So that's our plan, as we discussed in the recorded version of the webinar that was distributed on Friday, and Mitzi indicated was required viewing. So, I mean, I think that's what we are doing. I think that certainly we're interested in any feedback that you have, and we certainly appreciate the experience that you have and the way that you're field testing, the initial participation in the program. So I don't know if you have any other follow-up thoughts from that comment, Kate.
Yes, and the WisCaregiver Careers program has a grant application pending with the federal government, which would pay for media outreach. So like a real graphic design company, like professional graphic design company, creating professional looking brochures that could be customized to each FSET. Right. And available to the participating employers. Now, right. We are still waiting on that. Probably within the next 30 days, we'll know for sure right. what the answer is. So yeah, so that will also be part of the program if and when that grant money comes through.
But from the standpoint of take-home messages for Champion Care employees and being the most effective in terms of utilizing these program resources that are available right now, I think that there are sort of a couple of vehicles that we're really talking about here. One is making sure that we connect with the FSET agency in the form of Jennifer and Forward Service Corporation from Suring, Oconto, Grand Care, and Northridge, is that you are connecting with Jennifer directly and making sure that whatever possible referrals for prospective employees for CNAs are being brought to your facility to whatever extent that they're possible. I know Jennifer indicated that the numbers are relatively limited in some of the smaller counties, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure that Lenny at Grand Care is connected with you, Jennifer. But from the standpoint of making sure that Suring and Oconto are connected, and that, you know, we open up those referral sources, that's sort of priority number one. Number two, we also want to make sure that facilities are aware of some of the resources that are available for scrubs, stopwatches, you know, whatever resources that are available to ensure that, you know, when a prospective employee is making their way into the process as an emergency aid, that they are aware of the additional resources that may be available to them in becoming more successful as a prospective trainee and applicant and employee of the company. Is that sort of a decent summary of where we stand with things, Kate?
Yeah, exactly. So we're
Great.
kind of just doing it right now. This is it. But you know, anything Christina or Megan or Jenny, things, ideas, any suggestions that you might have in terms of relaying this information to people who need to have it, you know, feel free to let me know how we might be able to support you in getting it down the chain, so to say, to the frontline people who will benefit from this ultimately. So I feel like that hits number one on our agenda. We've covered the resources. Anybody else have any questions about what's available through this FSET relationship?
I'm just going to go ahead and call on specific people. I'm just going to go ahead and call on specific people here. Christina, I know that you have some microphone issues, so if you could, you know, indicate whether or not you have any questions or thoughts on this section. Megan, it sounds like you can unmute. I'd just like to go to you real quickly. Do you, for this portion of the conversation, is there anything specific that you have feedback on? I know that you had problems relative to the issue of criminal background checks, and I wonder if you could speak to that.
Sure. Yeah, we had 3 applicants, and 2 of those didn't disclose anything on their background checks as far as like any sort of criminal background. And then when we ran them, we found quite extensive instances of that. So we didn't proceed because we even said, I think in that first meeting, that it's really important to disclose the background. I mean, obviously we hire people in certain circumstances with a background, depending on what it is, but when people don't disclose it, it almost seems like they're hiding it. So we kind of refrained from going any further with the hiring process at that time.
Right. Certainly from the standpoint of red flags, if you don't fill out a criminal background check form, it's red flags, and we're not talking about Badger red. I mean, it's red flags in a bad way. So I think I appreciate that feedback. Kate or Jennifer, I don't know if you guys have thoughts relative to, you know, changing the process or addressing that as an issue on a go-forward basis, both for the WCP as a whole and Champion's participation relative to the pilot demonstration.
Yeah, that was one thing that I did mention when I kind of went through our service spiel, is that was one thing that we did recognize. And that's, I think, where the communication was so important, because we were able to get that feedback and then go back to staff and, you know, ask kind of what happened in those situations, because we did go over the importance of the background, and also sent staff the tool that you guys had sent us, outlining kind of what background we should be looking for when we're sending referrals. So that was a lesson learned for us. Again, I think with that first initial pilot, everything needed to be submitted pretty quickly, where we were getting some referrals towards the end of that process and not as many in the beginning. So we will also be having our leadership team kind of looking at those applications and making sure that we even just look at CCAP, because that's the only tool that we have to do background. So we'll do that portion. And then if they go through our health care professionals, like that introduction course, that's touched on there as well. But that is one takeaway that we had gotten from the pilot that we had to go back to staff and really talk through again.
Good, great. Oh, you're on
Two
mute.
things I just want to add. The Office of the Inspector General at HHS nationally has a list of excluded individuals and entities, people who can't participate in providing care and services to any facility that's participating in the Medicaid program. That is really, I don't know, Mitzi, if you have, or other people have other impressions about that, you know, certainly correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that is probably as good as CCAP, or maybe probably even better than CCAP, relative to finding, you know, just doing a basic background search. So that's one point, and I'll forward you, Jennifer, the list, the LEIE link to that program.
Okay.
So that's one thing. And then, and I'll just put it in the chat box here. And then the other thing that I want to mention is I just got a call from Lenny, and he is going to be joining here more momentarily. So wanted to make sure that was, you were aware of that. Jennifer, is there, what is your time constraints and availability during this meeting? I mean, do you have something immediately after this?
No, I am free until 1. Okay.
So maybe we can at least, when Lenny joins, you know, spend a little bit of time with him. So Mitzi, I don't know if you have anything else that you would add relative to best practices as far as criminal background check is concerned, or Megan, if you have any other further comments relative to the criminal background check side of things and your experience as an end user in this program.
No, I think we touched on everything. I would just say, yeah, it's important to just disclose anything that they think could show up. So it makes it easier for us when we do run it.
Sounds good. Mitzi, is there anything else that you would add?
I don't have anything to add to that. Earlier in the conversation, I was kind of in and out because of where I'm driving. I'm just wondering, when it comes to the vouchers for the applicants, how fast is that turnaround time, and how soon do we need to get them involved with that, so that we kind of know?
Good question. So as soon as they're enrolled with us, they're eligible for services. And it will just depend on, you know, when they're requesting it. Sometimes it can take up to 24 hours. The issue is going to be if they need the vouchers mailed to them versus if they're going to pick them up at the office. So there are a couple variables there, but the sooner that they request, you know, the better we can kind of be prepared and get them whatever it is that they need. Now, I will say it would be nice to get kind of a list of things that they're going to need if they're hired on. We have some, you know, some vouchers that we use with like Uniform Boutique that can get them some scrubs. But sometimes we're depending on Amazon or different things like that, which takes a while to get mailed to the participant. So the sooner we can kind of be prepared of, these are what items that they're going to need for the job. But then the transportation vouchers will, again, just depend on how quickly they're requested and what the method of pickup is going to be.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd say the more frequent conversations they can have with their case manager from Forward Service Corporation regarding their needs, the better. because then they can address even services that we might not have available. We might know of something in the community that can get them, something that they need as far as transportation or childcare or other needs.
Thanks for that feedback. I mean, there's two things that I would offer just as a general best practice. Number one, I think it'd probably make a lot of sense to make sure that when you're communicating with folks about your needs at the facility level, that you're communicating in writing. And that this information is being distributed directly through email to the appropriate individual. And if you do not receive a response, or if there are questions internally to Mitzi and myself, please forward these inquiries. Obviously give the folks at Forward Service Corporation some time to respond to the inquiry. But if you do not hear back, within a week or so, certainly let us know, and we can follow up, with Forward Service Corporation and make sure that they have the information that they need, whether or not we're putting that information to the right person, maybe the person is on vacation, etc. Relative to the process of making sure that we are communicating to the right people from a county standpoint, Jennifer, for Oconto County with Suring and Oconto and the Bay facilities there, should they be is there a particular person that you would suggest that they be communicating with, or should they be communicating with you directly?
No, I think they've been communicating with Chua, which has been working well. And then Chua just lets me know if there's anything that she needs from me. But I found that kind of seemed to have streamlined the communication a little bit better, because Chua was coming through me and then I was going to Champion Care. So I think Chua being that point of contact has worked.
Okay.
Yeah. And then
would it be possible to put Chua's email in the chat so that Christina and less so Jenny, because Jenny, it already sounds like you've been in touch with them, but Christina at Suring.
And I'll do the Suring one as well, because I HR for both.
Great, perfect. So it sounds like Suring and Oconto are taken care of relative to the contact is concerned. Moving to Manitowoc County, who is the appropriate person for Megan and folks on her team to be reaching out to relative to this?
I'd have to follow up and make sure I've got the right point of contact, because I think it might make sense to have the same point of contact for Manitowoc and Fond du Lac. And I'm on my phone, so putting all the information in chat might be a little bit more difficult. So can I just reply? No problem. Can I reply all to the email once I've been able to kind of follow up with Fond du Lac and Manitowoc with the correct point of contact?
Yes, absolutely. And why don't I just do this? I'll do an email to you right now.
Okay.
And then I'll CC Megan at Northridge, and I'll CC you said Manitowoc and Fond du Lac were the two areas that you wanted to make sure would have the same point of contact. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I noticed we had a B Gretzinger and a 920 area code join the call. I just wanted to welcome you real quick. Make sure that you're able to chime in if you need to.
Yes, it's actually Lenny calling from Grand Care.
Okay, great. I will update your name on the meeting so everyone knows that it's you, Lenny. Welcome. And we're really happy to have you. At the beginning of the meeting, Jennifer was saying that Fond du Lac is one of their hubs, and that they've got a lot of resources and interested people in that area to send to you.
Looking forward to it.
So
I do-
sorry, go ahead.
I do have a quick question about just communication. I know that we talked about advertising a little bit ago. The one thing that we have not done is we have not shared with participants, the Champion Care's name or anything like that ahead of time, because we've worried a little bit that they would kind of bypass FSC and go straight to you without us doing some of that initial discussion. So I just kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on, how soon do we let them know of the partnership between us, and the best way to make sure that they know that employment piece and where they're going to be working possibly ahead of time. We just didn't want them to kind of go to you guys and say, okay, we heard that we've got this opportunity through you, and then go through the application process where we've not done some of this screening or vetting ahead of time.
So, I mean, I would follow Mitzi's lead, and I don't know if other folks have specific feedback on that. I guess my initial instinct would just to be to say, once you have brought them into the program and have begun the process, I don't see any problem with sharing that information with them. I guess I would just say, just notifying them that the facility is very interested, and it's going to be more active and more effective for them to be participating in this program with Forward Service Corporation as a conduit to facilitate these employment opportunities. But I don't think that there's any problem with notifying them that we're a partner and we're actively participating in this way.
Okay.
Mitzi, I don't know if you would have anything else to add to that.
Is your 2-week education on working in the healthcare field paid education for the applicant?
No. So that is not something that they're not receiving any sort of payment from Forward Service Corporation. We are just helping them find employment and then maintain that employment. So a lot of times they're not really ready for CNA. They're just kind of exploring their opportunities or their options. So it's not anything that is paid or has any sort of certification on it. It's just that introduction.
Okay, so I was thinking maybe when you did get someone who was interested and you were starting the process, that maybe you can give us the name of that person so that we know that that's somebody working with you. And if they were to contact us, that we would be able to be on the same page. Everybody would know where this applicant is coming from and what to give them as far as direction versus somebody else applying to our facility.
Right. And I was even thinking so Forward Service Corporation, we have like a Facebook page where we can, highlight different things. So I wasn't sure if there was even an opportunity to have us post something on Facebook of, here's this partnership that we're working on, please reach out to us, because honestly, we might have people in, these communities that are eligible for our program, but not even, not even in contact with us. So it could open up the pool of potential candidates if we were, advertising it on some of our social media pages.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, from the program's perspective, we're all for it. So if Champion Care is okay with it, we would be definitely all for it. And I have like graphics about WisCaregivers from the first go around, like a banner that was made by a real, professional designer, stuff like that. So anything I have, you can use. Okay.
So Katie and John, maybe if we are going to, or if we were going to be looking at possibly posting something, would it have to go to the two of you to just review first before we post it?
I would be happy to look at it, but I would just as well just go for it. I'm sure you guys know what you're doing, and I'd be fine with it. Yeah, the main topics that we hit on is free training, free testing, and the $500 retention bonus. Those are the main points that we always mention whenever we publicize anything about WisCaregiver careers.
Okay.
Right. And I think that the one thing that I would, potentially add is that you can also just tag, if you're doing a Facebook post,
Mhm.
you can just tag at Champion H Care or one of the facilities represented here with their handle and tag their Facebook page and say we're proud to have at Bay at Suring, at Bay at Oconto,
Mhm.
Grand Care, Northridge, and tag them to your Facebook page and whatever post you're doing, and
Right.
that way we'll know that information is going out. And we'd also be happy to have an invitation to have your our facilities represented here invited to like your Facebook page.
Yeah. Yes. I will talk to our communications team and then update you guys on kind of the status of that. Because I think that would be a great way to even just get the word out past our current participants. And
Totally.
yeah, so that
And
sounds like a
just to follow up very briefly, I mean, I think Mitzi's point is very well taken. I mean, if there are
Mhm.
opportunities to communicate
Yeah.
with Forward Service Corporation directly with the administrators, I mean, like Mitzi and I are here, and Kate is here to help facilitate communication and facilitate, opportunities. But
Right.
ultimately, the administrators, the business office manager personnel, and the DONs, they are the people at the individual facilities who are going to really be the rubber meeting the road here and being effective in utilizing Champions participation in this program. So any way that we can facilitate communication and direct engagement between those individuals at the Champion Care side directly with Forward Service Corporation, I think is the best way to handle things.
Well, just keeping an eye on the time, because I know everybody's really super busy at the site level. We sort of touched on how great it will be to have these direct referral lines of communication set up. So before the meeting ends, I'd like to just everybody at least have a plan moving forward about who's going to be the direct, like how is that referral pipeline going to go from, I think first we should touch on from Forward Service Corporation to the sites. So like right now, Jennifer, the way that I understand it working with Suring and Oconto is Jenny is in contact with Chua. And when
Correct.
Chua has a referral, somebody who's ready to apply, she sends an email to Jenny and then they take it off from there. So how are we going to make it work at Grand Care and at Northridge?
Right. And that's where I just have to go back and make sure I've got the right point of contact, that they are aware and able to kind of be the main point of contact for that. I'm thinking it's going to be Megan, who's attended some of our initial meetings. But I will, I'm just going to follow up with her, and then I will send an email out with just who the point of contact is for those locations.
Great. And now then on the Northridge side, who is that going to be?
It was generally me, but I will be leaving my position at the end of the month. So I don't think anybody has been hired as of yet. So we could do like our schedule as our CNA interviews as a contact, if that works.
Yeah, you broke up for just a second there. The scheduler, did you say the scheduler for CNA interviews?
Yeah, she's our scheduling coordinator. So she does all CNA interviews and gets them like in our schedule and like the onboarding process. She does that for our facility.
Perfect. That sounds like the right person, just somebody who's got, because what's been helpful with Jenny is that she's got the info about like all the HR specific info, like their date of birth, their social security number, all the info that's needed on the enrollment form, Jenny's got. So does this scheduling coordinator also have that access to that info?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so then will you follow up with John, or how will we get that person's name and contact info to be able to give to him?
Send John her name and email.
Perfect. Okay, so I'll just make that on my little list of follow-up things. So Megan sends John info.
So we had been using the administrator at baynorthridge.com. Should we no longer be using that for the referrals?
Correct. I'll send a new,
Okay.
I'll send
Sounds-
a new person because
Okay.
I was on the March 31st. So
Okay.
then after that, it would go to a different person.
Okay.
Perfect. And then with Lenny from Grand Care, do you have somebody kind of who fits that bill? You know, someone who's involved with the CNA hiring process, who's in contact with that kind of thing?
Yes, we actually just hired someone for that position, so I guess we can start with things coming to me, and then once they get acclimated, they will take over because they would have access to, you know, training our new staff and have access to that information that you were just discussing.
Perfect. Okay, so for the time being, we'll use the Gran admin
Perfect.
email. Gran, GRANADMIN. Is that it? Gran admin? Okay, so use that for now. And then you'll follow up. You'll let us know when that new person is ready to take the reins. Okay. Do you have a name for that person, just so I can jot it down?
What's her name? Bree.
Bree, B-R-E-E.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so that'll be the plan for that moving forward. And then the last thing that we wanted to hit on before 12:30 is the reverse referral process. So right now, how it's working with the pilot at Oconto is it's just the referral process in reverse. So literally Jenny just contacts Chua. And so is that how we want to move forward as well with this? The identified people that we just talked about, like the scheduling coordinator at Northridge and the currently Grand admin email plus Bree for Grand Care. Do we want those two to be the point of contact for reverse referrals? And by that, I mean your incumbent workers or new hires who are going into the WisCaregiver program, sending them over to FSET for eligibility screening and services, hopefully if they are eligible.
Starting out, yes, I will take the reins on that until she gets acclimated.
Okay. And then Megan, do you want to have that same person who's the scheduling coordinator be the point of contact to be in charge of sending people over to forward?
Sure.
Okay, great. So that'll be that. And then Jennifer, do you want to let me know like once you are kind of coordinate on your end about, you know, having the same person be for Manitowoc and Fond du Lac, do you anticipate that person also being the point of contact for reverse referrals?
Yes. So I have a meeting I just scheduled a meeting for 2:00 to get that contact information. Then I will send it on.
Great. Okay, so that's all the like main points on the original agenda. We also have one last item that we wanted to talk about, which is communication after referrals. So one thing that we kind of ran into when we were first getting the ball rolling with the pilot was the FSET, like Forward Service Corporation, would send somebody to the facility and then they wouldn't know if that person ever got hired or what happened with it. So we want to just kind of have a process in place where the loop gets closed so that, you know, if Forward Service Corporation needs to follow up or anything like that, they can do so. And I think also, Jennifer, I would assume for your data tracking purposes, you kind of need to know like what the outcomes are after a referral.
Right. And it was even helpful to hear if they were not hired, why, because the point of contacts that we're going to be using for this are going to be supervisors. So they can really then follow up with, you know, the staff as well, who can then touch base with the applicants. But it would be helpful to know who's hired, but also those not hired, kind of why and what happened.
Right. So how, like from your perspective, Jennifer, like what works well? Like has that problem been starting to be addressed in the current pilot?
Yeah.
Okay. And then like how do we, what would work for you basically? Just as a point of getting the ball rolling.
I think what has helped is getting kind of me out of the mix because I'm not necessarily directly connected to the counties. So it was helpful for like Chua to be able to just reach out to Jenny and ask for an update. So I think that by having these new points of contact, that will help with some of it. But I think, you know, as soon as somebody's hired on, maybe, you know, that day or maybe the next day, if we can just kind of know that, that would be helpful for us. And then, you know, whenever you can share the data about why they don't get selected, would be helpful as well. But I'm not sure if that's like after the interview or after you've done a background check. But the more information that we have to better the pilot for everyone is going to be important.
Definitely. As a process, I could suggest that the way that you go about kind of closing the loop when somebody does get hired is as soon as you make that offer and it's accepted, you fill out that enrollment form. And did everybody on this call get the enrollment form?
No, I think Forward Service Corporation was completing the enrollment form and then sending it on with the referral.
Okay. And Jennifer, I think I have to touch base with you too about some program updates. Now that Wisconsin Fast Forward has allowed us to use the matching, the wages as matching funds, they've allowed us some flexibility in terms of enrollment. So like when we first got the ball rolling, we didn't know about this whole matching fund thing. And we said, oh, well, it has to be through FSET. If they don't get enrolled through FSET, they can't participate. But now that we have more flexibilities, they can enroll through the program from Champion Care side as well. So when it's a referral coming from FSET to the facility, by all means, the form, we would love it if the form came from FFC. Great. When the person starts the application process as an incumbent worker or as, you know, a new applicant at their site, they can go ahead and send it to me, just to smooth it out. And that could be the closing of the loop. So that person gets hired, they accept the offer, then fill out that enrollment form, email it to me, and then CC your contact at Forward Service Corporation to let them know that yes, this person has been hired. I think also at that point, a decision of this person, we're not going to move forward with them, if that could be part of the process as well, of just letting Forward Service Corporation know just at that point, like kind of just usually HR stuff like this has like a workflow associated with it. So just kind of adding that communication step to the workflow would be really helpful for anybody.
So does that mean that we can refer people from our Wisconsin Works program as well? And it would not just have to be FSET, it could be our other programs, because that would help us, because then we wouldn't have to co-enroll them. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so we can open it up to anybody who wants to train as a CNA. It's great if they can get FSET supports, because like we were saying, you know, all these resources really help people, but if FSET's not available to them, we can still enroll them regardless of their eligibility for FSET.
Great. Yeah, and those supportive services that I mentioned in the beginning of the call, they would be offered to our Wisconsin Works participants as well. So we can look at that caseload, which would double kind of our reach in some of those counties.
Wonderful.
Great. So, I mean, just for from the standpoint of participation of Champion Care facilities, I just want to make sure that we go over the final, you know, review of things, and make sure that everybody's aware of what we're talking about here. So, moving forward, any individual and entity, so basically what we want to do is increase referrals in specific counties from Forward Service Corporation of prospective applicants to Champion Care facilities. The way that we're going to do that is make sure that we have an isolated contact at each Champion Care facility with an isolated contact in a particular county with Forward Service Corporation. So we want to facilitate direct communication as much as possible. On the Champion Care side, we want to make sure that the person who's handling interviewing and paperwork and, you know, the appropriate individuals within the company isolated and identified to both Kate and to the Forward Service Corporation. So those forms of direct communication are occurring. And then on the employment resources side, if once you have those connections established, please reach out to that appropriate contact via email. So there's documented information about what the request is and what the resources needed are. And if there is if once that request is made, please, and you know, there's appropriate time given. If there are any questions about any delay or whatever, please bring Kate or myself into the conversation, and we can help troubleshoot those matters. I mean, I think that those are kind of the high level takeaways that people need, other than the fact that, you know, time is of the essence. This really needs to happen, you know, for us to take advantage of the program. Once people go through the training program, there has to be an increase in the wage scale. Doesn't have to be significant, but it does have to occur after the training. And that we make sure to, you know, do the $500 retention bonus from the standpoint of compliance with the grant specifications with the WCP. So at a high level, that's what we're talking about here. Kate, does that kind of encapsulate it?
You hit all the high points. That's it.
Yeah.
The wage increase and the $500 retention bonus is definitely things that I wanted to hit on, make sure all the administrators are aware of that. And that, you know, the one thing to think about in implementing this is, how are you going to know that that 6-month mark has come up? So is it putting a Outlook calendar reminder? Is there something in the HR hiring software that can flag that? But just making sure that that's on the radar, and that when we make promises to the participants that we make good on them.
The one thing that I want to make sure that we touch on that is specific to Lenny, and unfortunately he couldn't be there in the first part of the conversation, is one, I think that there is a greater volume of referrals in Fond du Lac County, and I think that that's something that we need to address. And the other thing is, due to the fact that, I mean, is Grand Care on the watch list anymore for special focus? I think that there ended up being a subsequent survey that's taken you off the watch list.
They're
correct?
off.
Oh,
So-
we're off.
You're off as of February.
Giddy up. So,
So you have a training program at Grand Care?
just let me get to that.
Okay,
So,
okay.
I mean, what I would recommend, Lenny, is that we have a conversation this afternoon with Mitzi about making sure that as soon as possible, you submit the information to be an emergency aid training program. If there's eligibility, if there is not eligibility to be an emergency aid training program, which there may not be, then we're going to have to figure out where training occurs for emergency aids for Grand Care within Champion or external to Champion. Because Jennifer, if you have referrals coming into Fond du Lac, and that's a volume of referrals that we want to take advantage of, we want to be in a situation where we have a plan to actually utilize and utilize those prospective employees and appropriately train them, so we engage in effective regulatory compliance. I want to go to Mitzi just in a second here, but Jennifer, does that make sense? Do you understand where we're coming from as far as that's concerned?
Yes.
Great. Mitzi, do you have anything that specific that you would add to that?
No, and I was chatting with Lenny. I believe that they probably cannot have emergency training, a training course right now, but we can certainly look at having it at the assisted living next door. So I'll look into that.
So I don't know. I don't think that is possible. I don't think that you can use an assisted living facility for a training program. It has to be a nursing home. It has to be, one that is not on the double secret probation. I mean, like you can't have an IJ within the last over $10,000 for a CMP in the last 2 years. So on some level, and Megan, that's part of the reason why I didn't, shift you off this call or let you go. I think that Northridge is probably the closest facility to grand care, and that may be the option that we have. Mitzi, I don't know if you have any other feedback as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, I think that would be the closest. That would be the only option.
If it's very far, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the geography too well up there, but
No.
we have had one WisCaregiver go through Fox Valley via Forward Service Corporation. And so, I mean, it's one of my program goals that we can have full participation in the tech colleges. So if the person is an employee and earning the wage while going through the tech college, then the problem with the matching fund is not a problem. So we can try to work something out. I mean, my main goal is to be as flexible and as supportive to our participants as possible. And so if there's a way that we can make it happen with private training provider or a tech college, or, you know, Lenny, if you've got a training provider that you prefer to work with, just let me know how I can help make this happen for you. And I'm here for you.
Right. So,
Thank you.
I mean, unfortunately, as supportive as you are, Kate, unfortunately, the regs in the survey system and CMS in Baltimore don't have the same philosophy relative to supporting long-term care providers. Editorial comment, neither here nor there. But I think that what we should really do is set up a follow-up. If the volume of training applicants is in Fond du Lac, we need to set up a follow-up meeting with you, Jennifer, you, Lenny, and you, Mitzi, and you, Kate, to close those loops and make sure that those resources are available. Lenny, does that kind of make sense with you?
Absolutely.
Great. So I will send a follow-up email to all of you, and we can schedule a time for that this week.
Sounds
Sounds
good.
good.
And yeah, keep
Okay.
those referrals coming. And yeah, remember, if you've got people in your facility working right now that want to upskill, get the word out and let them know, you know, this is the opportunity to do it. You know, you might be in housekeeping now, but you could be a CNA through this program. So, and then any new applicants too, make sure to get them in the program because we've got the money, we want to spend it.
Right. Great. I just want to give one last opportunity for questions. Does anybody have any questions on anything that we've covered today? Going once.
I don't, thank you for everybody who joined the call, and Jennifer and Kate, thank you so much. John, thanks for facilitating everything.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.